start the presentation because we've got a lot to cover. Obviously, I'm multitasking. As you can see, we've got Christine on Zoom. She's giving the right correction. She's the UN resident coordinator. Of course, I'll introduce everyone formally, and we'll obviously have an agenda as well. So we've got a video to play to kind of really get to understand what we're trying to convey today as part of gender budgeting and equality as well. I'd just like to thank you all to be here. It's a difficult time right now. I know you all wear a mask. I'm the only one not wearing because obviously I'm the MC, but I will make sure we try to get as much as we can as part of the Gender Budgeting Forum 2022. So we're just going to play a quick video first, and then we'll kickstart. Just making sure I've got sound as well for Christine there. Okay, so off we go.
Budget for equality. What does it mean? It's simple. It means that men and women get the equal piece of the public budget pie. Gender budgeting is a great tool to achieve gender equality. Gender budgeting is looking at the budgets from a gender lens, so that public funds would be equally distributed upon the needs of women and men. It doesn't mean that there are two separate budgets for women and men. It means budgets where gender perspective has been taken in consideration in all the phases from planning to implementation in order to equally serve the different needs of women and men. Let's see. Should girls play handball with the same ball size as the boys? Should women soldiers wear the same cut and size of uniforms as male soldiers? Are unlit alleys and streets safe for women in the evenings? Should only women quit their jobs to take care for the elderly and the children in the family? The answer is no, because women perform better when playing with suitable sports objects. Women should wear comfortable uniforms. Women are more vulnerable to gender-based violence by walking alone at night. Women usually sacrifice their careers in order to be the main family caregiver. Therefore, we need to work on creating an environment in which both women and men would have equal opportunities and equally benefit from public funds and services. Gender budgeting always starts from a gender analysis for raising and use of public money. It involves many actors, including government officials, civil society organisations, parliamentarians, gender advocates, academia, and local communities. Within the regional gender budgeting covering Southeast European countries and the Republic of Moldova, UN Women targeted central and local governments to implement the gender equality commitments using GRB tools to integrate gender into planning and budgeting at all levels. The programme supported governments to mainstream policies and budgets and assisted both women and men to participate in decision-making processes and understand what difference it can make in their daily lives. One of the examples at the local level in Albania shows how the partnership with the local CSO set the GRB high in the agendas of the local municipal officials in Tirana, Vlora, and Permet. Both women and men attended participatory budgeting meetings between citizens and local municipal officials, which resulted with a number of recommendations to push for better and equitable funding allocations to social services. All that resulted with new budgetary allocations such as housing support of widowed women and women heads of households, support to local centres for women victims of violence, economic aid for families in need, support for multifunctional centres for youth, girls and boys. These interventions helped local municipal officials to understand the importance of gender budgeting. They recognised the significance of citizen participation, requested UN Women support to further participatory processes, and reinforce accountability and transparency of local public expenditures. It actually doesn't take a big effort to make a big change, right? But the change always requires a certain amount of time, engagement of different parties, and joint participation in decision-making processes. The fifth Sustainable Development Goal, gender equality, states that women should have full and effective participation and equal opportunities for leadership at all levels of decision-making. The role of governments and budget policies is to provide everyone to get equal opportunities. Gender budgeting creates societies in which both women and men have equal opportunities, having in mind their different needs.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. So just quickly in terms of housekeeping, thank you for coming. Wearing mask is compulsory. I do apologize, I'm not wearing it because obviously I need just to talk as well. But also please use your hand sanitizer and also try to respect social distancing. Just quickly, there's the fire exit door. There's only 2 doors at the back. So if there's a fire, all you need is turn back and run. The toilet is on the 3rd floor. And of course, we'll catch up later as well. So if there's a question, we've got a new system called menti.com. So we'll make sure we get all your questions coming through. I'm the Master of Ceremony. My name is Anil Rana. I'm a construction project manager. I've dedicated all my life in construction, 20 years in construction industry. And I'm incredibly passionate about my job and my passion. And one of them is diversity and equality and gender. So just quickly in terms of agenda here, we've got Welcome Inuit and National Anthem, and we've got opening speech by President Race Brave Girl, Muti Priscilla, guest speaker, UN Resident Coordinator, Mrs. Christine Umutoni. Of course, we've also got, we are honored and humbled to have the Honourable Dr. Dorine Chukowry with us today. We've also got Sister Gaitree who will join us probably later. We've got Neenah Taher, will do a small poem for us. We've got Dr. Takesh Luckho, tea break, and then we've got Ayushi Guruchan, Chef U, Best Chef 2021-2022. And then we've got panel session with loads of colleagues we'll introduce later. We haven't got the slam by Jonathan because he hasn't done his double vaccination. He's been out straight away. So that's a slam for him. So just quickly, we want to do a national anthem because it's a very important topic today. So if I can ask all of you to stand up, please. And we're just going to play the national anthem. Okay, thank you very much indeed. Please stand still. I've got something else to show you. So just bear with us. I think that's a tribute as well to everybody. So we're going to need to give a good tribute to all the frontline heroes for 30 seconds. I think we've kind of forgotten about all the frontliners. I know the rule has been relaxed a bit, but let's not forget there's people still worrying to go to hospital to do their daily job as frontliners. So we're going to do a countdown of 30 seconds. And obviously clap your hand, please, to give back to all the people who help us to get to be here today. So we start now. Okay, so just a quick clap, everyone. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. You can have a seat. Thank you very much indeed. I think it was important to have a thought to all the frontliners heroes. So just quickly before we kickstart the keynote speech, I think it's important to really get to understand, if you're coming over here, what is your understanding of gender budgeting? And I'm just going to multitask on, if you can just get your phones out, guys. We're just going to get some information from you of what to understand, and your name won't come out, so don't worry about it if you don't know the answer. We're just connecting on the net quickly, and then we'll just do a quick menti.com if that comes up. So we're just waiting. We've got Christian as well, so the code is coming up now. And if you can just put your phone on and go to menti.com in the meantime, menti.com, and we'll use the code. So if you can just use 9467 9914, 9467 9914, and you will see the first question popping up on your screen. And it's what's your understanding of gender budgeting? So again, you can please say anything you want. It's all anonymous, but I think obviously we can put some context to it before we start the presentation today. So let's see if this is working. Right, so it's coming through now. One people voting on, not voting, but just putting the comment in. So we've got equality. What is your understanding of gender budgeting? So equality is one. Anybody else? I see lots of young generation here, so we should have been 90% already. So equality, SDG 5, Sustainable Development Goal number 5, uniformity, equity, fiscal policy, all relevant and pertinent stuff for the talk today. We'll give you a few more seconds before we move to the next question. So the question is, what is your understanding of gender budgeting? Everybody's voting right now. Fairness, same. I'm not too sure what same mean. Oh yeah, okay, level up. Of course, inclusive policies, equal access to resources. As you can see, the two big one right now is equality and fairness, or equity. These are the two big ones popping right now, and 9 of you have already voted. So we're just going to move on to the next question quickly. And the next question is, that's different now. What is your understanding of gender equality? So we had, just to put everything in perspective. So we had, what is your understanding of gender budgeting? And now what is your understanding of gender equality? So again, if you can just, you've got, I think, 3 options in terms of giving answers. So please, if you can just put any comment before we kickstart with a keynote. Okay, so I think this is coming through. Okay, so equal rights, same opportunities. Again, we'll give you 30 seconds before we conclude this and then move on to the keynote speech. Okay, thank you very much. Equal right for both men and women. Yeah, same opportunities, equal rights. So it's all in context to what we're talking today. So thank you very much indeed. And please keep putting your notes in as we go through, and there'll be more menti.com coming up later during the presentation. So thank you. I've got right, uniformity again, listen to others' rights, non-discriminations. You've also got listen to others' rights. All right, thank you. So we'll get that going later. We've got obviously our UN resident coordinator on Zoom. I'm just going to flip to the slides. Okay, so thank you. I'm just going to introduce the president of Raise Brave Girl, Moti Prishila is the president and founder of Raise Brave Girl Association, which is contributing to the Sustainable Development Goal number 5, which is achieve gender equality and empowerment of all women and girls. Agenda 2063, the Africa we want, and also the aspiration number 6, an Africa whose development is people-driven, relying on the potential of African people, especially its women and youth, and caring for children. Her field of expertise in association is proposal of policy making concerning gender equality. Her proposal made to national government of Mauritius focus around gender budgeting, public evidence policy making, and feminist policies. She also empowers women and young girls through creative workshops using art as a tool. Her association delivered 3 women You Lead workshop to more than 200 participants around the island and successfully lobbied for free sanitary pad to girls on social register. She's also an expert in vital registration and statistics and well conversant with civil status laws, National Identity Act, and identity management. Moti Priscilla hold a BSc in Political Science, Law degree and Masters in Public Policy and Administration. She's also a MIND alumni and a member of the International Political Science Association. Please put your hands up together for Priscilla Moti.
Your Excellency, UN Resident Coordinator, Your Excellency VC Christian Umutoni, Dr. Honourable Dorine Chukowry, Member of Parliament and Panellists, Chairperson of Brahma Kumaris, Sister Gaitree, the representative of US Embassy, panelists, guest artists, all protocols respected, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I have the honor to address this Gender Budgeting Forum 2022 as the President of Boys Brave Girls Association and a feminist advocate to lobby for gender equal policy. We, here, as gender advocate lobbies, are committed to make a difference in our citizens' lives by destructuring an embedded patriarchal society so that all gender have an equal access to resources and power. OBG is a non-governmental association registered in the territory of Mauritius, which empowers young girls and women to achieve gender equality at all levels. The world has faced an unprecedented sanitary crisis with the pandemic of COVID-19. The global health crisis has not only impacted daily lives of people, but also the role of women and feminists in the society. While women have been the first victim of this global pandemic, it became inevitable for countries around the world to design and redefine stringent feminist policies through gender budgeting. IMF warned that women have borne economic and social burden of the pandemic, and the national budget is a golden opportunity for us to address and level up gender equity. Therefore, we at OBG believe that gender feminist policies must be at the center of the budget preparation, where resources should be focused on women. Mauritius GDP in 2021 has declined by 33% during the second quarter, and it has also been reported that the GDP would have fallen by 40% had the government not intervened with relief measures. The COVID-19 pandemic has created an opportunity for us to bounce back and work to strengthen feminist policy. And the pandemic has put forward a new social dynamic to tailor-made policies in the country. It has also been argued that women have been disproportionately affected. However, we cannot deny the fact that since mid-1980s, Mauritius has a formula of dual breadwinners. And in a patriarchal society where jobs are lost, unfortunately, the burden to get back in the job market falls on the men, and it gives us a hint of a probable feminization of poverty, which has a golden energy. To absorb the shock of COVID-19 pandemic, the government of Mauritius has implemented macroeconomic measures through induction of government stimulus package. And there is an absolute need for us to continue to strengthen a gender-responsive budgeting in a continuous and long-term investment. In a post-COVID-19 era, there is a vital link between economic recovery and social equity, which cannot be achieved without gender equality. And there is a must to implement feminist policies to achieve gender equality today for a sustainable legacy. It is important to highlight that a gender budgeting initiative does not aim to produce a separate budget for women. Instead, it aims to analyze any form of public expenditure or method of raising public money from a gender perspective. OBG is lobbying for feminist policies which will create an appropriate environment and infrastructure for women at travers the national budget, taking into consideration rights, representation, and resources. Firstly, we have proposed to implement paid menstruation leaves for women suffering from severe menstruation cramps and other related health issues upon production of a medical certificate. The menstruation leave should not be counted against sick leave and should be extended to girls in school, colleges, and universities. Secondly, we are lobbying for parental leaves, which should become part of our new normal. And parents should have the liberty to take it after all. We cannot create barriers for the new generation of parents by categorizing maternity and paternity. With the essence of gender equality in mind, it is our duty to work and maintain a work-life balance. While we acknowledge that positive measures give protection to women, particularly with regard to pregnancy and maternity leaves, in a new normal, we have to think further towards parental leaves, which is a gender-neutral form. We are also lobbying for grant to be given to companies for lactation leaves. Gender equal policies will automatically derive from avant-gardist management and gender leadership in both groups. Last but not least, we are lobbying for implementation of emergency shelters and rebranding of women shelters in the country. Ladies and gentlemen, RBG is convinced that we need to work and strengthen gender budgeting, not only to advocate for gender equality, but also to bring in more equity. There is no better time than now for us to work together so that all gender enjoys equal opportunities, choices, capabilities, power, and knowledge as equal citizens. In also the post-COVID-19, we must become more responsive towards gender budgeting in order to achieve gender equality and leave a sustainable legacy for our future generation. Together, we can bring gender equality at the next level. Together, we can leave a sustainable legacy. And together, we can become a country champion in gender equality through all stakeholders, parliamentarians, gender equality advocates, young people, social media influencers, and you present here today with us. Thank you.
So thank you, Priscilla. Thank you much indeed again for all your hard work, your giving back, everything you do for the country. Can I just say, please, again, once again, please, a big round of applause for Priscilla Muti for all the time and giving back. Okay, so we move on. There's a small swap. Of course, we are humble, honored, and privileged to have the keynote speaker, Dr. the Honourable Marie-Christiane Dorine Chukowry, MP. Dr. the Honourable Marie-Christiane Dorine Chukowry, MP, holds a Doctor of Philosophy, an MSc in Educational Administration and Technology with distinction, an MA Counseling with distinction, and a B Education Honours Accounting. She was director of St. Bartholomew College and part-time lecturer of the Open University of Mauritius. As from 12th of November 2019, she became a parliamentary private secretary. And as from 14th of February 2020, she's a member of the Parliamentary Committee on Independent Commission Against Corruption, which is the ICAC. Please join me in welcoming the Honourable. Thank you.
Excellency, you are the resident coordinator, Honourable Christine Umutoni, Mrs. Catherine Volman, economist and representative of the US Embassy, the president of Raise Brave Girl Association, Ms. Motivational, the chairperson of Brahma Kumaris, Sister Gaitree, members of Raise Brave Girl Association, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed, good morning. It's a pleasure for me to participate in this laudable activity on gender budgeting organized by Raise Brave Girls Association. I wish to place on record the commendable work of RBG, which consists of empowering women and young girls to achieve gender equality both at national and international level. Gender budgeting means preparing and analyzing budgets from a gender perspective. According to literature review, this practice does not entail dividing budgets for women. The purpose of gender budgeting is threefold. First, to promote accountability and transparency in monetary planning. Second, to increase gender participation in the preparation of the budget by involving both men and women equally. And thirdly, to promote gender equality and women's rights. Gender budgeting is both a process and strategy with long-term aims of achieving gender equality goals between men and women. Gender budgeting can be used to ensure that public spending is supporting equality. The term gender responsive budgeting was first introduced in Beijing, China, at the 4th World Conference on Women to instill in decision makers the concept of looking at national budgets through a gendered lens. Gender budgets have been used by Finland for more than 10 years, but hardly is known at international level about the Finnish gender budget experience. Since our government took power in 2014, our government has been focusing on a good budget, which includes consideration of the impact of public spending on men and women. In the 2021 and 2022 budget speech of the Minister of Finance, he pointed out that the priority of our government remains, I quote, upholding gender equality, empowering women, and protecting our children for a fairer society. Some key measures towards providing opportunities, some key measures towards providing equal opportunities and support to everyone are an increase in the monthly foster care allowance from 5,250 to 8,000 rupees, to support the women entrepreneurship, a loan of 100,000 rupees without interest were given to women entrepreneurs, and also the introduction of minimum salaries. Maternity leaves have been increased, and also the introduction of paternity leaves, amongst others. The gender gap in education has disappeared in Mauritius. As in Mauritius, girls excel boys in schooling performance, be it at secondary or tertiary levels. According to the Tertiary Education Commission, in 2017, there were 56.6% female and 43.4% male. Even the women workforce participation rate has increased from 46.9% in 2004 to 57% to 2019. Mauritius has gone a long way towards reaching equality in the labor market. But there's no doubt that still more needs to be done. But our government is determined in its endeavor to reach gender equality. I am very confident that under the Prime Ministership of Honourable Pravin Kumar Jagnnath, we will surely reach our destination. I am confident that our Minister of Finance will go through the proposal made by the Brave Girls Associations and try his best to achieve gender equality in the coming budget. Once again, I thank RBG for the invitation, and I wish you all plenty of success in achieving your goals. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much indeed, Dr. the Honourable Marie-Christiane Dorine Chukowry. Thank you very much indeed. Humble and privileged to have you today and to bless this event. Thank you very much indeed. We're now going to swiftly move on to Zoom, which I'm familiar with. So let's hope logistic work here. So we've got Her Excellency Christine Umutoni, and we're just going to make sure she's can hear us, and she's the UN Resident Coordinator. And of course, we're just going to make sure we go onto Zoom. So let me just make sure. Christine, can you hear us and can you see us as well?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
So we're ready to go, and off you go. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. So can we just have a quick round of applause for Christine Umutoni? Thank you. Off you go. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much. I start by acknowledging the Honourable Member of Parliament who has just given us a very powerful speech. Also, the President of the Raise Brave Girls, and all protocols observed. This is a very, very important and I think timely topic, especially for countries that do their budgets in June, because gender budgeting begins with preparation and then with design and then implementation. And I think at all these stages, awareness is very important, and contribution and participation of both men and women at all these processes is important. And grasping these ideas from the very beginning is key, because sometimes you think about it, but the budget is already passed and there's not much that you can change, but there's a lot you can change when it is still in design. So with this, really, it's a pleasure for me to join you for the Gender Budget Forum. As a UN resident coordinator, of course, I focus on promoting the SDGs and the messages from the UN regarding the subject of gender, and particularly the importance of gender budgeting. The achievement of gender equality and women's empowerment as embodied in Sustainable Development Goal number 5 is critical for humanity to progress and realize its full potential. Gender inequalities persist in every country and society around the world. And we know that COVID-19 has revealed how the crisis has disproportionately affected women. So I believe for the upcoming budget, more zoom and focus on what the impact of COVID has done to affect women will have to be taken into account, because the effect was not the same. So with less than a decade remaining to achieve Agenda 2030 for sustainable development, every country is looking for financing solutions to drive the entire SDG agenda. But in this particular case, we must look at solutions that drive gender equality so that we can achieve goal number 5. And the budget processes for a country or for companies or civil society, even in your own home, budgeting and the lens with which you budget matters if we are going to achieve gender equality. Budget matters because they determine how government mobilize and allocate public resources. They are used to shape policies, set priorities, and provide the means to meet the social and economic needs of all citizens. I think prior speakers have emphasized this. Why gender responsive budget is important? I think, again, I'm just emphasizing what others have said prior to my speech. A budget is the most comprehensive statement of a government's social and economic plans and priorities. In tracking where the money comes from, where it goes, budgets determine how public funds are raised, how they are used, who benefits from them. Therefore, implementing commitments towards gender equality requires intentional measures to incorporate gender perspective in planning, budgeting frameworks, and concrete investment in addressing gender gaps. Gender responsive budgeting, as mentioned earlier, really is not about separating budgets for women and men. I think UN Women makes this clear in even their documentary and the documents. Or it doesn't really mean solely increasing spending on women programs. Rather, gender responsive budgets seek to ensure that collection and allocation of public resources are carried out in ways that are effective and contribute to advancing gender equality and women's empowerment. It should be based on an in-depth analysis that identifies effective interventions for implementing policies and laws that advance women's rights. It provides tools to assess the different needs and contribution of men and women and boys and girls within the existing revenues, expenditures, and allocations, and calls for adjusting budgets policies to benefit all groups. We insist on leaving no one behind and being inclusive. Gender responsive budget analysis, along with legislation and other practical policy measures, can address gender bias and discrimination. It is a step not only toward accountability for women's rights, but also towards greater public transparency that can shift economic policies, leading to gains across societies. This goes the same to national plans and budgeting. National plans and strategies are important because they are the means for countries to identify development priorities, articulate how these will be implemented and financed and monitored. They are also concrete documents that civil society can use for advocacy purposes to hold governments to account, to implement promised measures. However, gender equality commitments are not always adequately considered or included during design, implementation, and financing stages of planning. It is rare that national action plans for gender equality and sector-wide strategies are integrated into national development priority settings and plans. If governments are to implement gender equality commitments, they must take a series of actions to formulate policies that remove gender-based discrimination and guarantee women's rights. Providing financial resources, institutional capacity, and accountability systems integrated into national plans and budgets is key to enabling their implementation. It is the role of ministers of finance in many countries to set up public finance management systems, define budget ceilings, and ensure sound macroeconomic frameworks. By incorporating gender analysis, ministries of finance can make better budget choices by highlighting existing gender gaps and the impact of public expenditures and revenue raising on women and girls. There are two examples in the world that I can quote. One is Sweden and another one in Rwanda. I had looked up, maybe I can just share with you the information. You will see that for Rwanda, what they did before the budget, they sent what they call a budget responsive, a gender responsive budget circular. And this is one indicator you can ask yourself, has the government circulated this? Because this is going to guide ministries, departments, local governments on how they prepare their requests and how it is planned. And it is said that we have to check, does the budget circular ask or require budgetary units to include information on gender-related impact of their spending and proposals? This indicator measures the extent to which government's budget circular is gender responsive. There is, so for example, I'm trying to look at the one of Rwanda. the gender responsive circular includes a requirement for budgetary units to provide justification or planned results for the effect of men and women on gender equality in the following. It says proposed new budget initiatives must show that, and also where they are going to reduce budgets, it must show that. Another requirement is that the circular requires budgetary units to include sex disaggregated data for actual or expected results. That is Rwanda, but Sweden also, I don't know if I can find it here, but Sweden, the guidelines, I'm trying to see where Sweden is, because the government's decision to mainstream gender includes all financial proposals and requires the application of gender equality budgeting in the entire budget process. Equality budgeting, in short, means prioritizing selection and allocation of budget resources to promote equality to the farthest extent. So the circular also from Sweden asks that budget units must have an analysis of the impact on equality, employment, and other needs to be considered for all budget proposals. My point is that for those two, and I think we've seen the impact on spending on equality, they do actually send a circular. With this circular, there is the markers or indicators. You have to tick a box that you have done that. Most important to all is proof by everybody bringing in their budget, ministries or everybody, to show how this is going to impact women, but also accompanied by the segregated data. One thing that I normally encourage government is to exchange notes or to exchange visits to learn from where things are working well. If things have worked well in Mauritius, what is it that another country can learn? Whether it is visits between parliamentarians who do the review of budgets and approve budgets, whether it is visits between different civil societies who do the advocacy, or whether it is by the government bodies themselves who are implementing. What are the tools that Sweden is using that could be beneficial to Mauritius on something that you want to embark on, or what is Rwanda doing to do that? To conclude, I would like to say that the UN is really committed, even in this country, to continue supporting on gender equality generally, but particularly also on gender budgeting. I know that agencies like ILO, that International Labour Organization, is very strong on these issues of advocacy on labor laws and budgeting. IOM on migration, there are many migrant workers. UN Women, of course. WHO on health. UNDP is very strong also on policy making and on capacity building. And UNFPA for women and youth. FAO, agriculture. WHO, UNODC, UNAIDS. I'm mentioning all this because, as you will see, gender is cross-cutting. And even if we have a particular goal on gender, all the goals, all the SDGs must be gender. All the ministries, all the sectors, public, private sector, civil society, everybody is concerned. I know that already there has been some work by some of the agencies. I know the work UNDP and UN Women have done using the UN Women guidance on gender budgeting, for example, to work with the Ministry of Finance, to work with the Gender Caucus in the Parliament, in training some of these things. But we need to do more. We need to do more because any issue on gender is a mind shift. And mind shift, I always call it a gender journey. You know, every year, every time you have to remind, and every time you wink, something passes. So with that, I would like to say that the National Gender Policy in Mauritius that was launched is a very good platform. It also emphasizes the gender responsive budget and calls upon all institutions to have equitable allocation of resources to ensure gender equality. And currently, the Ministry of Finance and Economic Development is undertaking a study to revive the gender responsive budgeting at the national level. I believe this is, I know also that the Parliamentary Gender Caucus are also carrying on capacity building on gender mainstreaming to familiarize themselves with the gender responsive budget. This is important because as the caucus and the parliament in general carries out its legislative oversight role to ensure that budgets are equitable and address sectoral gender gaps. I know that, and I give the example of Rwanda because this is my home country, that when I was still in government, when a budget came to parliament and it did not pass the gender responsive mark, it is thrown back. Parliament will not approve. That's why the ministry had to do a circular. The parliament had to review. They had to attach all the indicators that show that a budget is, and not only for the central government, but even for the local government. Districts had to be given the same circular. So just to show you how important it is, a whole budget can be thrown back and be told to redesign until it qualifies to have all this. So challenges remain with technical capacity on practical gender mainstreaming in particular sectors. And however, the gendered implication of COVID and its repercussions have underlined to the government that women are a vulnerable group that requires additional budget equity measures. This was reviewed as part of the UN-led socio-economic impact study of COVID-19. So having program-based budget in Mauritius provides a key entry point to facilitate the institutionalization of gender-responsive budget through engendering of the strategies, outcomes, and key performance indicators of different ministries and sectors. I would like to conclude by saying that, again, gender equality is a global priority of the UN. Mauritius is a UN member state, and most of these things all countries must abide if we are to achieve the SDGs. It is the livelihood, the health, the safety of women and girls that are disproportionately affected, even when it comes to various crises like climate change, COVID, and others. So why shouldn't they be central to the decision-making that will impact on their economic and social well-being? Women possess unique knowledge and experience. Their full and equal participation in decision-making process should be a top priority as we accelerate towards achieving of the Sustainable Development Goals. Ladies and gentlemen, let us reaffirm our commitment to leave no one behind. Without gender equality today, a sustainable and a more equitable future remains beyond reach. And we all know that gender budgeting is key because financing development is important. Everything else will remain on paper, will be a slogan if there is no financing to follow or to help us walk the talk. With that, I really thank you very much. I think the organizers of this event, we need to do much more because, as I said, any shifts for gender equality, for women empowerment is a journey, and a journey that we must all walk together, hand in hand, men and women, boys and girls, if we are to reach far. I thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you. Big round of applause, everyone. Thank you, Christine. Thank you very much, Christine. Thank you very much indeed from Zoom to take your time. So thank you very much indeed. So we'll continue and then we'll leave you on Zoom. So and we're going to introduce the next guest speaker. And so obviously, thanks, Christian. So we're just going to swap to quickly on to the next speaker. We've got Catherine Volman, the Economic Officer at US Embassy. So could we please put your hands up for Catherine, please?
And to the UN President Coordinator and Her Excellency for their remarks this morning. Also recall observed, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for inviting me to today's Gender Budgeting Forum. I'm Captain Volman, and I'm the Economic Officer at the US Embassy.
Wait, just quick one, if we can just get the mic further.
Is that right? How's that? Good? Okay. Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be with you today to discuss gender equity and equality, which are vital to consolidate communities, economies, and nations. Gender equality and equity is hard to achieve, but the United States recently took historic steps to bridge the divide by launching the first national strategy on gender equity and equality, also known as the Gender Strategy. The Gender Strategy shows the US government's commitment to advancing the rights and opportunities of women, girls, and LGBTQI persons in all their diversity, both in the United States and around the world. As cementing our longstanding belief that gender equity and equality are both a moral and strategic imperative. An important aspect of the strategy's success is adequate resourcing, including through mobilizing budgets and federal agencies and other government institutions in ways that are proven to narrow gender gaps rather than exacerbate them. The current pandemic's disproportionate impact on women's economic security and labor force participation stems from deep-seated structural inequities in the workplace. In the United States, barriers to access start at the door, with discrimination in hiring leading to unemployment, underemployment, and occupational segregation. Globally, women's labor force participation has stagnated over the past 2 decades, with women disproportionately concentrated in the informal sector and low-wage work. Many nations still have laws that inhibit women's economic participation, from limitations on the types of jobs that they can hold, to inequalities in property ownership, and in far too many nations, sexual harassment on the job remains legal. Furthermore, in nearly every country in the world, women earn less than men. In addition, they do more unpaid work. In the United States, the wage gap remains a stubbornly persistent problem. In 2020, full-time, year-round working women, on average, made only 83 cents on the dollar as compared to men. Despite these facts, we want to believe in a more just and equal future. One way to get there is through reforming our laws and our policies. However, we all know that we must also change our culture. By advancing the rights of women and girls and all their diversity, we will advance the collective prosperity, health, safety, and security of our nations. The U.S. Embassy in Mauritius and Seychelles is always ready to work with partners in identifying ways that gender equality and equity can be promoted. Last year, in collaboration with our Regional Security Office and the U.S. Embassy in Paris, we hosted a 6-week leadership training on strengthening the role of women in law enforcement. 24 female officers from different law enforcement institutions in Mauritius have benefited from this program. At the beginning, they all shared how difficult it can be to lead in a male-dominated environment. But with perseverance and dedication and advice from the trainer, they said there was no reason not to succeed. To conclude, I would like to commend Raise Brave Girls and Prashila Moti for today's program. I look forward to hearing about the outcomes of the forum and the initiatives that will follow. Thank you all again for inviting me, and I wish you a fruitful discussion.
Okay. So our next guest speaker, honored, humble again. So we're just going to do a quick introduction to Sister Gaitree. So Sister Gaitree is the chairperson of the Brahma Kumaris organization in Mauritius. As a spiritual person practicing meditation for more than 40 years, her word of wisdom touches the depth of our hearts and take us to a place of peacefulness and tranquility, which is the basis for creativity and innovation. Sister Gaitree is known for her ability to organize and facilitate seminars and retreat, which enable the audience to learn on how to tap into the inner powers to become mentally very strong. With her own vast experience and her exposure, she guided many people on how to develop the capability to face adverse situations with a smile. She's the main facilitator for running courses, lectures on inner leadership, women empowerment, and self-management, among others. Please join me in welcoming Sister Gaitree.
It's a great pleasure for me to be in your midst, especially as the majority of you are from the youth, both youngsters. So, all protocol observed, I would mention as Her Excellency, the UN representative, resident representative. Is Dr. Mrs. Chukowry, MLA, yes, US Embassy representative, and especially Ms. Lamurti. I'm very pleased to be among you, and also to start with, I'm going to ask you, request you most humbly to observe 1 minute of silence. And I'm going to give you a brief commentary to silence to enable you to reach that bottom background of where we all spring our creativity. Okay, so right here and right now, let us gently disconnect our mind and heart from all external aspects of our life. Be the roles that we have been playing through this physical body. Be our field of responsibilities, our relationships, even our physical body. Right here, right now, let us journey into the inner realm of our being, that is our inner universe. Be a detached observer. Watch the thoughts flitting on the surface of your mind. And as you lend your attention to this exercise inside, experience how the thoughts slow down. In between the thoughts and behind the thoughts, find this treasure of pure peace. Allow this quality of peace, serenity, tranquility to pervade your whole being. And as you allow this quality of peace to pervade with you totally, experience the stillness. Stillness. Serenity. Silence. Which is the fertile land in which we can generate the best of thoughts. Because here deep inside, like on the surface of a cool, calm lake,
you can find the whole external nature projected. You can see the sky and the trees in the water. This shows us how interconnected everything in this universe is. So therefore, the necessity for us now and again, to reach the silence and the depth of our being, to be able to do the best of ourselves. Very gently, we come back into the room. I hope you have been able to make the journey. If you have made the journey, I'm sure it has given you an insight into the immense capacity that each one of us holds. I've been listening to all the previous speakers, and I realized what a colossal task it is, budgeting, formulating policies, political, and especially when reps just mentioned that all this without finance won't be effective at all. So more than finance, more than all those policies that we are making, vital it is for us to find our original internal state of mind. I think it will give sort of reflective thinking away. Each one of us, we are all hankering for that deep peace inside us. Whether we accept it or not, whether we admit it or not, but if we are not finding ourselves at peace deep inside ourselves, it is difficult for us to formulate, to plan, to clarify, to see clearly, to discern, to decide. All these faculties that we are talking about resides on our proper stabilized state of mind. And we're all looking for, like, I wish to mention especially a special note of appreciation and congratulations to Priscilla and her team, a team of youngsters. And I think that is the requirement of the day today, is for youngsters to bring not only their skills, but also their enthusiasm, which is one divine quality. The word enthusiasm springs from the word divine. So that brings me to the subject of what I want to address you on this special occasion. On 23rd March, there was a parallel CSW event at the UN. Different organizations meeting together to discuss on this theme. What was the theme? The theme was the role of consciousness in transformation. All the endeavors in whatever field, whatever SDG you take, all these are, as I say, interconnected. And to be able to perform properly, there should be a symbiose, as we say, a synergy for us so that we are able to formulate the right expression. It all depends on consciousness. So when we are talking about consciousness, I think all of you are totally focused on the thinking, gender, budgeting. Yeah. But there's a different budgeting which is very important, and that budgeting is inside. That budgeting is about goals. That budgeting is about innate capacity. There are two types of qualities each one of us will endow with. One is the quality which we say acquired. We acquire these qualities by training, by learning. There are a lot of other ways and means that we have organized workshops, dialogue, so on and so forth. We say, du choc des idées jaillit la lumière. So when all share the ideas together, something new is going to come out. But if we are just exclusively focusing on the outer aspect, which is our acquired qualities, skills, or whatever it is, we may be very talented. But if I just come in front of you, I may have a lot of things sharing I have learned, but I just feel ill at ease. I'm not comfortable with myself. I will not be able to deliver what I have. But there's what we call innate qualities. And those innate qualities is found in every one of us. And those innate qualities, I will mention some of them, but all the specialities, all the virtues, all the values, all spring from these innate qualities. And those innate qualities are summed up into 7 innate qualities. Like we talk about the 7 qualities of the rainbow, the 7 notes of music. We have 7 innate qualities. You can check and see to what extent we are at par, we are in alignment with those innate qualities, without which any external endeavor will go waste. What are those innate qualities? First and foremost is peace. If I'm disturbed, simple calculation I won't be able to make. 2 + 2 makes 4. I'm going to say 2 + 2 makes 8 because there's something going on in my mind. So when we talk about innate qualities, peace is a sine qua non requisite for any type of performance. And then we have integrity, whatever word Jordan fits in. True. What is true? Do you know what is true? Do you know the whole truth about ourselves? Consciousness is very much related to that truth. The peace is a truth, call it purity, call it integrity, whatever word it is. And the third is power. We're talking about women empowerment. Women power is when we have self-control, control of our thoughts, feelings, emotions, attitudes, behavior. And that's all stems from what we call spiritual power. It's very important to take awareness of our spiritual identity. So third is power. I'm not talking about external powers. It's more to do with our capacity inside of our ability to think and realize. And the fourth is love. Love is that energy that makes the world go round. Each of these innate qualities I'm mentioning to you, it branches off into many, many, many different qualities. Right? When we talk about love, it's love that is animating this line or group to work for women empowerment. So word, if we expand the word love, it can be concern, care, compassion, kindness, generosity, gentleness, softness, sweetness, whatever. Each of these fundamental qualities, they are the motherboard for all the other qualities and virtues that we require in our day-to-day living, second by second. Peace, purity, truth, power, love, and the fifth is knowledge. Now, I'm not talking about knowledge, external knowledge, knowledge about the self. Who am I? The neurologists, medical scientists say that we are losing about, some say 3%, some say 10% of our mental capacity. What happens to the 90%? I'm sure most of you must have in your moments of silence thought about it, that you are not needing anything at this moment. You don't need people, you don't need things, you don't need gadgets, but deep inside you feel a sense of well-being with yourself. You can't define it, but all of us, now it is becoming more and more rare because we are moving to the world of addiction and attractions. So that's where we are moving in. So we are moving away from our real authentic self because the real self is seeking the knowledge about us. Who am I? So if we don't have full knowledge, and when we talk about the knowledge of the self, it's not only my physical identity, but this is where I'm going to bring the word spirit, call it consciousness, call it awareness, call it the spiritual energy. It's that ability that allows you to think first and foremost. Right? And then we say the sixth is happiness, and the last one is bliss. The original nature of the soul or the spirit is blissfulness. If we check ourselves, are we happy and blissful right now? Let alone happiness and bliss. But are we feeling peaceful at least? Yeah. This is the basis of our being. Because if we don't have peace, so just like the 7 notes of music, if we don't learn them, we can't create any melody. So life is a song. And that song will be incomplete until unless I'm in alignment with the qualities. So coming back to the theme that I was saying, that I'm going to just mention a few things about consciousness. So consciousness is awareness of, like, suppose you see the external body. This is but a costume. I think there are many philosophies, many cultures have been speaking about life being a drama. So here say so, and many cultures speak about it. Many religions also speak about it. When we say life is a drama, all of us are actors. Would you like to play the role of hero or villain? What would you say? Sigma region. Let's go to president.
Villain.
Yeah. Pourquoi vous préférez vilain?
Because you are more famous. Only joking, of course, heroes.
I tell you another example. Suppose just in this crowd, like you are sitting quietly. Suddenly you hear that there's a madman, really crazy, who is around in the compound, and he's about to enter this room. And he enters. What will be each one's state of mind? Just imagine. And now we hear that, a very spiritual person, a very elevated being is coming in our midst who does not need to speak, but their vibrations and the thoughts of that person permeate the whole person. You see the change that comes in our mind? So each one of us have this potential. We have this potential in our brain, have cells that is meant for each of those qualities. But what happens being given I, the soul, the being the operator, but I don't have full knowledge about what I am myself. So the hardware is there, but I'm not able to operate. So the hardware is the brain. So for me to be able to use that, I should be really awakened. That's where the word consciousness and awareness comes in. So my humble contribution and suggestion based on experience, I would say that it's absolutely essential, vital for us to find our grounding. Find our grounding, find the basis of who I am, and discover, explore your inner world and discover the inner potential that each one of us we are equipped with. And once we find our inner potential, our thinking will have the right thinking at the right time. We may have several ideas, but sometimes it's very nice, very beautiful, very attractive, but it does not fit. Yeah. So fitting, aligning our thoughts to the need of the day, especially the world where we are living right now. We have a crisis, unprecedented crisis at all levels. We can witness that. Right now, we are all sitting peacefully, so to say, a certain percentage. But what's happening across the world? You can feel it in the atmosphere. What is the basis for all this turmoil and turbulence happening in the world? What is the basis? The basis is our thinking pattern. So we say the common adage is as you think, so do you become. So it's very important for me to relate myself to my original internal identity as a being. First and foremost, as a spiritual being. The body by itself cannot think. I won't say eyes look at it. It's someone saying to the eyes, look here. Someone saying, listen to this. That someone is the being who we are. And our quest for life right now is to be forward. Once you know who you are, it fits the jigsaw puzzle. You'll be able to attain unlimited capacity. Previously in our society, we know that long ago, people used to communicate telepathically. Now we have so many measures being adopted, so many thinking processes going, so many efforts being deployed. But if we just work a little bit, 50-50, I'm not telling you to ignore your physical life, not at all. But there should be balance. We're looking for gender equality. And the soul, the spirit, is neither male nor female. It's the qualities of the heart and the head. There should be a marvelous blending of the head and the heart. That is the intuitive thinking and feeling based on the logical. So most of the time the world is focused, even if we happen to be a female body, we happen to be focusing most of the time on the external. So if we don't find this inner ability to blend these two capacities within ourselves, anything that we do will always be. So my idea would be just to ask you to reflect on the power of thinking. Anything that you are doing, just become aware of it. I have enormous capacity. I have got this innate quality, just like water. The innate quality of water is what? Coolness. If I take the water and put it on fire, it's going to get hot. But as soon as I take it off, it's going to cool down. So if we can find the mental detachment, if we don't have this detachment, we won't be able to. Suppose if I am to speak and I put my mouth close to that mic, you won't listen, you won't be able to hear. I need a little detachment for me to be able to speak. In the same way, vis-a-vis my pattern of leading on the physical life dimension, it's important for me to align myself to the spiritual dimension. It doesn't belong to any religion. There's no monopoly of any of those qualities that I have been speaking. It is not the monopoly of one religion or one sect or one culture. It is to each and every one of us. And this is where we have, derailed ourselves. And the result is that today we are in a world where we have unlimited amount of problems, challenges, difficulties. So it's very important for us to focus back on ourselves. I think my time is lapsing now, so I'm going to invite you once again to observe this beautiful silence inside ourselves. So right now, let's once more listen to the inner universe, in the inner space of my inner consciousness. Let me imagine myself to be a being of light, non-physical and metaphysical being. And my original quality, innate quality. Allow this feeling of peace, like a fragrance, to pervade my mind, my heart. And as I dwell on this quality, I come across the great being, the one above, whom God, call him the universal intelligence, whatever you wish. Imagine that being to be the ocean of infinite love. Be the peace, love, the compassion that is exuding from his being. For me, his child, his creation. I have the right to claim this peace. And this peace, these qualities, these virtues can only surface when my mind is still. Being one with myself, one with the creation, one with the Creator. I promise to myself that to do justice to myself and my truth and myself, I need to find out this moment. Throughout my whole life, I need to be true with the truth. Ocean. Peace be unto you. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Sister Gaitree. So just before we break for some cholesterol, we're just going to have Neenah for a quick poem. So Neenah, let me just introduce you quickly. So Deena Taher is in her third year, currently pursuing an LLB at Pantheon SS University, Paris. Deena Taher, or Neenah, her pen name was published in a collection of local poems for a non-profit cause by the name of Words for Ocean, which helped raise money after the Waukesha disaster, and then published her first book of prose and poetry in 2021 by the name of Love, the Menace. So please join me in welcoming Neenah. One, two, three.
President of FRICS, UN Resident Coordinator, Mrs. Umutoni, the Honourable Dr. Dorine, Chukowry, Sister Gaitree, and all politically respected, good morning. Where there is woman, there is magic. Being a woman is a blessing in itself. It is said that women are the closest thing that God made to angels. Women are delicate, fragile beings at one end of the spectrum, and yet we can also endure the most painful things in the world. It is one thing to say that women were sculpted with the intention of being the closest resemblance to angels, but it's time to unlearn that. An angel is sculpted with perfection, but women are not perfect. We have flaws too. We cry on our bad days. Hell, we cry on our good days too. We pick out flaws when we look at ourselves in the mirror every single day. We obsess over our face and body. We work tirelessly even when our body aches. We have mood swings before and after menstruation. Constantly living with societal expectations. Women are expected to be perfect, funny, witty, sarcastic, shy, young, beautiful, assertive, intelligent. Where does the list end? Does it get tiring sometimes? It does. So how about this? We accept that we aren't perfect, and that's okay. We are only human after all, not angels. It's good to be imperfect sometimes. It's good to fall in the mud. It's good to make mistakes, as long as you learn from them and get back up. Persevere, be resilient. We are not angels. We are women. We are strong. We are powerful. Our body is amazing. It is our heart and emotions that make us a woman. So where there is women, there is magic. Thank you.
Thank you, Neenah. Thank you very much indeed for this one. Just quickly, Christian want to say a few words. She's been watching us, and I think she wants to say a few words before we go to the break. So let me just get back to Christine. Christine, can you put your video on? We can't see you, so just make sure we've got the audience there for you. Yeah, Christine, yeah, you're enjoying it so much. You're enjoying it so much. You want to say a few words?
Yeah, I just wanted to leave one food for thought.
But very quick, Christine, because you're between us and our food.
Yes, just as I was listening in the various speeches, the poem, the spiritual talk, just so one way to understand gender budgeting, an example that I could give from everyday life that can help, even from the family. You know, if you take it from the family, you take it from community and then to the national level. I'll give an example. I grew up as a refugee girl, and we had boys and girls at home. And when I was finishing primary school, my father decided I drop out of school. My brother continues. He is the budget manager. My mother, on the other hand, had wanted that all kids move to a lesser expensive school, but all kids go to school. And my father was saying, my brother goes to the expensive school, the girls get out. Anyway, long story short is that eventually, through some NGO, I got a scholarship to go to school, and this is why I'm here. I wouldn't be here if there was no funding related to my studies. But the moral of the story, and listening to everything that is talked, is how we shift from how we focus. Sometimes you don't have enough resources, but maybe if you shift the budgeting in a manner in which you put lenses to all the beneficiaries, you could go a different route, not another route, but be effective. So I thought I would put this in as you go for your break and all that. Think through, even in your own home, how do you do budgeting that is gender responsive, that leaves no one behind? It's the same story when you are budgeting for a community, if you're a community leader, a district, if you're a district leader, a government, if you're a whole government, or a company, or a what. If you zoom in and put in your gender lens and you put the ones left behind, you will always find a way. So that's why the poem on the mother and the thinking and the woman, us all being on the table, discussing together the budget. We shouldn't leave this budget to only men or women or all together, but we can do things differently, even with a few resources. Had my father listened that we go to all a lesser expensive school, but all move on, would make different changes. But had the NGO that provided my fees not considered 50-50 boys and girls, I wouldn't be where I am. I thought I would leave you this food for thought, that what could work on your family level can work on community. Is the same principle that will work in government. And this is what we mean by gender budgeting and leaving no one behind. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. So can we have a good round, please? Thank you very much indeed. So we'll go for a quick break. We've got part 2 coming up. Dr. Takesh presentation, as well as Ayushi, Chef Hugh, Best Chef 2021, and we'll have a quick panel discussion.